Hi everybody, hope you had a good week and thank you for turning in all your papers. And some of you had asked for a couple extra days and that's absolutely fine. And I appreciate you contacting me because that way I know at least you're still working on everything and everything's still going along. Want to point out a couple things. Tomorrow night when we talk on Monday evening, we'll be talking about a couple things. One, we'll be talking about innovation in education, and that's something I'm very, very passionate about, the purpose of innovating, and not just innovating for the sake of innovating, but innovating so that we have a better education for our children, because we all know that we can't stay the same because the world's changing too rapidly. A couple other things we're going to be talking about is I'd like to touch upon your key learnings in your interview paper. So things that you got out of your interview paper, some of your key ahas, things you may not have known that came out. They go, oh, wow, I didn't know about that. I didn't know that in education leadership, or I didn't know that in the outside sector. Some really neat things come out when you're interviewing people that are not in education, and it's the parallels are so similar, but also the things that educators have to do that the private sector doesn't have to do. For one is the unions. Not sure if any of you will bring up unions working to having as an administrator having to work through the contract and working through the contract with unions, which makes working in the private sector completely different than in the public sector. We're right on par with where we're supposed to be. The last thing I wanted to make sure that we touch upon is the Fullen's article, or Fullen's discussion about the drivers of the system, making sure, how I look at this is making sure we have the right people on the bus and making sure we're going in the right direction that we've stated we're going to go in by putting the right people there. A couple comments about your paper. There's a few of you were concerned because you couldn't get your paper in on time that it may be locked. The system, our Blackboard system, maybe have locked you out. That could be the case, so don't worry about it. What I'm going to do is, after all the papers are due, I'll be unlocking, for all of you who's contacted me, I will be unlocking that so allow you to resubmit. I could say just email it to me, but what may happen is I don't have your paper in Blackboard then, and I want to make sure that I have a record of it in Blackboard. So I'd rather you not email them to me, just because I want to make sure that they're all safely in Blackboard. So if for some reason it doesn't upload for some reason, please let me know, and I'll make sure of that. Going back to the innovation technology, or I'm sorry, innovation innovation in education. Just be thinking about maybe just for discussion, maybe some of the things that you're doing at your school sites that are more innovative than when you went to school. And if not, maybe something you'd like to try at your school that might be more innovative that you might have heard of. Or maybe some conferences. I always learn from these discussions because I learn what conferences are going on right now and different places that people go to get information. So be thinking about those things. So we'll touch upon the Fullen article. Each session will be about 25 minutes, but we'll touch upon the Fullen article about the drivers for the system. We'll touch upon our paper, the interview paper, and any questions you might have with that or any concerns you might have. And just talk to me if you have any questions about the Blackboard. Which brings me to the times that we're going to be meeting. I apologize, but somehow when I sent out the last email I sent this week with the grid with the time with the groups, and I put your group A, your group B. Well, originally I had in that box on the side, I had the times that you're all meeting. So it would be 6 o'clock, 6:30, 7, 7:30. However, somehow that got cut off. So, and I didn't keep it original because it was on my email, and it got cut off in my email as well. So what I'm going to suggest, I sent out a new one just now, so follow that one. Someone also wrote to me and said that they couldn't meet the time that they thought they were scheduled for. So if you need to meet later and meet at a later time later that evening, that's absolutely appropriate, no problem at all. Okay. I want to say I am very grateful for those of you who've been contacting me through email. We've been having some great discussions and conversations about your paper, who's appropriate to interview, what APA is. That's been a big discussion for some of you, and I appreciate. I mean, that's the hardest part about going through this program is learning the new language of APA and not feeling like you're plagiarizing. But so that's a whole new way of learning. If I haven't had a chance to talk to you, and you have been, I know one person we're not connecting somehow. But don't worry, we'll talk on Monday night. So I want you to rest assured that we will talk on Monday night. But somehow our schedules were not connecting. That's all I have for this evening. I know that most of you are taking 2 classes. I completely understand that. This week, as we go into this next week coming up, it's a much lighter week for all of you. So there's definitely work due, and you're definitely going to keep up with the chatting and the online dialogue and things like that, and you'll be working on your making sure you're reading. But as far as the big assignments, you won't have anything big like we've had in the past, so there's no big projects due. The next big project will be due next week. So this week you're just working on your synchronized. We're going to meet synchronized on Monday night with those times. And we'll be discussing Fullen, the readings, and your discussion boards, of course. And definitely I want you to be making sure you see the TED Talks, because that talks about the innovation. He's a real proponent of using using innovation in education. And we can talk a little bit, if you want to bring up the group dynamics, because next week you're going to be going into group dynamics and more of how groups work together, and culture and climate, things like that. Okay. In the meantime, before you go into your next assignment, which would be in another week, of course, I want you to start. A real good idea is just start watching things, looking at culture of the school, and looking at the climate of what's going on at the school, and be thinking about that. Be thinking of how you can formulate a paper. Honestly, I've had people get very, very upset when they start looking at their school's culture and climate. They're thinking, wow, I never thought about that. I never thought of us as a group, as a microorganism working together. They just kind of went to work every day. But as a leader, you have to see, how does this all work together? How does your climate work together? And how does your culture, how healthy is your culture? So, I'm sorry, opposite of that. How healthy is your climate? And what it was the culture there? What is the culture at your school? So I'm looking forward to talking to you, everyone, on Monday night. First group will be at 6 o'clock. And we're going to be doing, I'm going to be sending out a Hangout this time. So it's going to be a Google Hangout. I'll be getting all of your email addresses and sending you an invite through Google Hangout. I will try to also post a Hangout link in an email I send out. So I'll email you the link to you individually, but it'll also be on Blackboard as well in the message center. Okay, so we'll be doing a Google Hangout, because I wanted to try something new tomorrow evening. All right. Hey, have a wonderful evening, and hope you had a good weekend. Bye.